tension on the drug-fueled violence in Mexico, which has killed more people in the last year than the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan combined, has rekindled the marijuana debate. Should legalization be on the table? Secretary of State Hillary Clinton addressed the U.S. involvement in border violence during her trip to Mexico this week.
We do have responsibility for what's happening in Mexico. It is drug demand in the United States, which drives the drugs north across our border.
Back with us now are Chris Plant, WMAL radio host, and Guy Lawson of Rolling Stone magazine. Guy's got a compelling report in this month's issue called The Making of a Narco State, which takes an in-depth look at the violence that has erupted in Mexico. All right, Guy, make your case. Why do you support legalization of marijuana?
The president's answer to that question typifies the American way of looking at marijuana and drugs generally. I mean, this is a president who did blow, as he wrote about in his own memoir. To laugh at the problems that marijuana raised in Mexico in Mexico, I should say, that's no laughing matter. As you say, so many thousands of people have been killed. Marijuana is the cash crop for the cartels. It enables them to go into and branch out into different kinds of drugs. It is literally destroying Mexico. If America doesn't get over its hypocrisy in this regard, they're going to have a national security catastrophe on the border. Simple as that.
I just love this. There is drug violence in Mexico. Therefore, we need to legalize drugs in the United States, ban guns in the United States. And finally, the liberals have some excuse to secure the border, but they don't want to secure the border for America. They want to secure the border for Mexico. They want to protect Mexico from the United States. Look, legalizing pot, I mean, what a joke. And my feelings about this aside, I'm fairly libertarian on this issue, but the reality is that they run cocaine and heroin, too. You legalize pot, then what do you going to do, Guy? You're going to legalize heroin and legalize cocaine because the drug lords will happily move over to cocaine.
Look at the economic model as we're experiencing right now, what's happening to General Motors. And these cartels are the businesses on that scale. When you take away 50, 60, 70% of their income stream, you radically alter their ability to operate. These cartels have command and control through hundreds of cities in the United States. If we don't do something about it, then the catastrophe that's happening in Mexico will begin to be visited in the United States. The corruption, the violence, the spillover, which what the DEA and the various authorities in America are now scrambling to catch up with after the buffoonish foreign policy that had the FBI and the DEA in Mexico chasing after al-Qaeda.
It's so buffoonish.
Tijuana.
The Washington Times today has a headline on Hezbollah moving people across the border, courtesy of the drug lords there.
Santa Claus.
You know, believe that legalizing pot in the United States will do away with drug lords and cartels in Mexico and in Colombia and in Bolivia. And the buffoonish approach that was taken by the H.W. Bush administration is what forced them to move to the land routes, because we've been successful at squeezing them out of sea and air transport across the Gulf of Mexico.
Colombia still produces the same amount of cocaine that they did before this whole fiasco.
Yes, Guy, and now they move it through Mexico, my friend, and that's what the cartels will go to, and the violence will persist, and then I'm sure you'll have an article advocating legalizing cocaine.
Well, never mind the violence and these narco states or whatnot. What about the simple issue? Put that aside for a second. The simple fact of a lot of people have an appetite for this stuff. Why shouldn't the government get a piece of the action?
What happened with Prohibition? Prohibition ended the organized crime organizations in Chicago. What happened to the New York City mafia in the 80s was largely to do with legalizing gambling. If people, Hillary Clinton says yesterday that we have this problem with demand, and I guess people are going to just stop wanting to smoke pot. Like that's
hilarious. You just contradicted yourself. All right, so we wiped out the mob in Chicago by legalizing alcohol, but it persisted in New York for some reason until the 80s when we legalized gambling, and now there's no more mafia.
No, it was
in the United States.
legalizing gambling destroyed the mafia. It was their income stream. It destroyed the New York City mafia in the 80s.
But now it's legal. And if you legalize all crime, then we won't have any criminals at all. Let's legalize all drugs. But, you know, look, this
that kind of moralizing is exactly what's destroying Mexico, sir.
Moralizing. Look, we're not destroying Mexico. Since when did the consumer become the problem here? I grew up.
If you want to see a
told,
picture of irresponsibility, there it is.
Okay, I grew up being told that the drug user was the victim and the drug provider was the bad guy. Now suddenly that the United States can be demonized, you guys are blaming the user and vindicating and now we've just got to legalize drugs so that criminals aren't criminals anymore. That's a good idea.
Can I ask you this? Can I ask you a simple question?
Sure.
Not to put you on the spot. Have you ever been to Mexico?
I was in Mexico last week.
And what did you think of it?
See my nice tan? I was offered drugs at every stop. Yeah, I kid you not. I talked about it today. I was offered pot and cocaine, by the way, at every stop, 3 stops along the West Coast. I didn't accept.
I have not been to Mexico for at least 10 years, but I think it's time for a fact-finding mission. Chris Plant and sticking around.
It's still